Welcome to the website, DaveO'HaraSports.com, as you tune in each week with Craig and Stacey Schrader. Well, again, as I mentioned, I've got Brad and Darcy Schaefer joining us with Tate or Tough. And it still amazes me, Brad and Darcy, when I've talked to you on the phone. We had a fantastic hour-long conversation last week, and the strength that you two show, and again, everybody knows my story with Craig and Stacey. Craig and I are town mates together from the Postville High School area, and his older brothers Larry and Mark and the whole family said they knew my story when my brother Scott tragically passed away in a car accident. I was 9 years old, he was 16. So I am not a parent who lost a child, but I can certainly relate to that and see what it did to and around my family. But what I appreciate so much with you two, and I heard it from Craig and Stacey, I heard it from you two on the phone, I'm blown away that you two constantly, and Craig and Stacey constantly use the word, well, we're blessed. So we're gonna get into all the details with Tate. We're coming up on 6 months. We record this on Tuesday afternoon, the 28th of September. Tate's unfortunate death date was 6 months ago tomorrow on Wednesday, September 29th. He passed away March 29th. And so the amazing thing is 6 months removed, you two, the grace that you show and using the word blessed. So I'm going to start there, and then we're going to kind of work backwards. So whichever one of you wants to start first, I'm blown away that you use the word blessed. So one of you take that away, please.
So I think the big thing is that, like, obviously we had time with Tate, as your family tragically gone, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that we had that time together and we were able to make those memories and intentionally build the relationships and be able to do what we were able to do with Tate and our community and our family. We just always talk about how we're blessed. I mean, there are so many families that go through, I think I even mentioned it on our Facebook page yesterday, like we were home a lot, where a lot of families are. And so you have to find those blessings. If you let yourself spiral into the darkness, you'll never come out. And I think we also know that how blessed we are from the outside. We have an amazing community, amazing Tate or Tough Army from all across the country, even across the world. And those types of relationships have brought us in contact with people who have helped us just get through all of this.
Yeah.
We would never have been able to do that without people lifting us up the way they have.
Well, again, Facebook.com, you can either go to Brad's page or Darcy's page, but Tate or Tough, as you see the shirt, the TT, and a lot of people in my community had that, in my Facebook community had the TT, and so everybody knows what that wonderful logo means, or hashtag Tate or Tough, or hashtag Nobody Better. And Brad, I'll ask you as the golf coach there, and you've had a lot of famous alum from Williamsburg. It's just ironic, a guy from your conference, James Morris, was on today's show, and you folks had a chance to talk to him for a little bit. But, a famous Hawkeye like Austin Blythe, now with the Chiefs, but formerly of the Rams, and went to the Super Bowl. But as a golf coach and the golf team dedicating the season to Tate, and then the softball team went to state this year at Williamsburg and dedicating the season, Williamsburg football, as Darcy had mentioned, with the great showing of community and support. But I got to believe from your aspect, the players gathering around you, that had to kind of help you through the process as well, I'm guessing.
Totally, and to kind of piggyback off what Darcy said, we decided December of 2018 that we were going to make the best of each day, and we're going to try to have something good come out of this and continue this fight. But you're right, all these players, the amount of support from travel teams, from Austin and the Iowa Hawkeyes, it's just been amazing. Uplifted us. Tate just absolutely adored all those guys, and it really kept him going in the fight. And I think it took his mind off of the battle that he was really in. It was just, he got up every day and said, what good can we find in each day? How we are blessed. And he kind of took Craig and Stacey's and obviously Flash's motto of win each day, and you can only control your attitude and your effort. And he got up, rolled his sleeves up, got to work, and he put a smile on his face. I mean, that was his big thing. He always had a smile on his face, and there was some bad days, but but you still try to find what good happened today, and we made it through it. That was all of it. We made it through.
Made it through the other side, and with great aplomb. As I mentioned with Craig and Stacey, I'll say to Brad and Darcy Schaefer, kudos to you for that, because that's the only advice I ever got from my parents when I had my daughter Kelsey wasn't, the usual, make sure the bottle's warm or this or this. It was just pray you don't outlive your child. And again, them going through that, and now you two, the similarities between you and the Schraders are just stark. Let's start with Flash and Austin Flash Schrader and Tate Schaefer. Same birthday. That's unreal. August 13th. years apart. But the other thing I'm struck with, and being again, fellow Postville alum with Craig Schrader, how proud I am that he's from my community, that he's from Iowa, or Stacy's from the Dubuque area, from Iowa. How proud I am of that Iowa Nice when you two reached out to them. And I was having lunch with Craig and Stacy when this was all happening, when Tate was getting ready to pass away. And I said, how incredibly difficult that must be for you, Craig and Stacy. And he said, no. This is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm glad that Darcy and Brad reached out to me. So, the accolades continue with Craig and Stacy. I'm blown away by the strength, even after 6 years. But the other thing that struck me, and then we'll get into the details of Tate's disease and where we're going from here. But the other thing is, Brad, I talked to you about being a coach and role models we have, and Darcy with, with Austin Blythe and the cool James Morris story you had, and we'll get into that another time. But what I'm struck with both of you is how Austin was an idol to Tate. So, in this day and age when LeBron James or this guy's my idol, this guy, Stanton or anybody else in baseball or the NFL for that matter, but he chose to, and I was struck on your Facebook page how many times either you or your daughter or Tate had a win the day, fight with Flash shirt. So how cool is that a preteen, they're what, 3-4 years apart? No, actually about 5-6 years apart, yeah.
Yep.
But still, he looks up to him as that's my idol.
Yeah.
Talk about that if you would, please.
Well, and I think, the crazy thing, they never met, obviously, but I think through knowing Craig, Stacy, Cody, and Haley, like Tate felt like he knew them, right? And so just the similarities, the minute that we found out the birthdays were the same, I think that lit something in Tate a little bit. The more that Craig and Stacy shared about Austin, he just found those similarities like, okay, I'm in the same boat, which could have been, kind of looming, right?
Sure.
And knowing, that Austin eventually passed away from his cancer. But Tate took that and just said, I think this is the person I want to be. And he saw that emulated through Craig and Stacy and through the strength of their family. And we said the same thing.
Yeah.
We sat down and with them and said, do you want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
We were praying for the miracle, but we had the reality of the outcome.
Sure.
And so we just said, are you sure that you want to go through this again? No questions asked, absolutely. So they stepped in and absolutely did it. And we had amazing combo family times, and Craig and Stacy had some great one-on-one time with Tate. And so, yeah, it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's what and last week Craig said when he introduced the segment with you two and said, I want to bring Brad and Darcy on. Because, from a charity or an organizational standpoint, I said, is that okay with you? Not that there's competition, but he said, oh, absolutely. Yeah. He goes, we all have to do this. We're in this together. And, I was asking a business question to a very legitimate emotional question. And I think the other fascinating thing is the one trait that Craig said that Tate had, that Austin had, was this isn't fair. And Craig said, oh, I know, but it's not fair, this is happening. He goes, no, not me, these other kids. And Tate had that, the perspective at a preteen to early teen that Tate had, and same with Austin Flash Schrader. I'd like to think I'm that guy. Let's even say if I was in my 20s or 30s and I'm advanced beyond that now, I'd like to say I'm that guy. I'm not sure I'm that guy. So that is amazing to me. You did something right when you raised a young guy like that who has that perspective. That's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke a little bit about at the funeral, just when Tate was really sick at the end, he'd throw up and he'd be sick and he would always look up to us. He was sorry. I'm like, why are you sorry? I mean, so just the positive of he was always thinking about other people and the burden. And I'm like, Tate, we're going to do anything we can for you. And a neat story about Austin. You were talking about the similarities, but actually Flash and Craig came to Williamsburg High School. And our Williamsburg High School basketball team wore Fight with Flash t-shirts.
Right.
And so I got out a picture that showed Tate that. And so we actually, just not even thinking about it, we took a picture with the Raider boys basketball team in the same spot. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, same background and everything.
Unreal. And of course, Fran McCaffrey and Patrick are going to join us on this show in weeks to come. And I've seen the great shout outs they had when Tate was still with us. And I've got to say this to you both, how great it is that Craig and Stacy brought you down to Dick Vitale's this last year, and we truly are, viewers. Craig and I have been teasing this for a long time. We have so much to get to. We're not even scratching the surface. That we're into 2 months after we did summer repeats, and I brought Craig and Stacy back when we started the show in mid-July, back up again. And by the way, James Vandenberg mentioned this. The Hawks are undefeated since this show started last November.
I saw
So you just saw that, yeah. No pressure. Of course, I didn't bring it up, and then of course James did. And I'm like, oh, if they lose, we're sunk. So thank God they hung on against Colorado State, and they're winning. As we're recording this, they win the game, but Maryland game. If you're watching this on Friday night, the game is just ending. So let's do this, and I really think it's important to talk about this, and then we'll get into Tate's specific story. But you two went to Florida with Craig and Stacy to Dick Vitale's place, ESPN, all the dignitaries were there, and what great Facebook following. I got to see that and see you guys on Craig and Stacy's Facebook and Fight with Flash Foundation via Facebook. The golf tournament, you had a couple of teams there with Flash's tourney, but also just living life and being out with Fran and Margaret McCaffrey personally, along with Craig and Stacy, and just having fun. And what I love about that is everybody's like-minded. The McCaffreys, Patrick survived, and he thrived, and he has surgery. He's playing on the Iowa men's team. You and Craig and Stacy lost your sons, Austin and Tate. So my comment to this is all the neat stuff we have coming up, again, with hashtag TaterTough and hashtag Nobody Better. When I say neat stuff, meaning I think we, as you smile, you know where I'm going with this. We have so many good things we're going to now do. And I'm just so glad and blessed that I'm able to be a part of this with Craig and Stacy and you, Brad and Darcy. So let's talk about what happened in the next few minutes here, and we'll get into this more in the future. But DIPG that Tate had, and I think, Brad, you and I talked about this on the phone, and Darcy, what you and I'll come back then is talk about where we're going from here and the 2% and all these other things that just bear repeating. So, Brad, if you would take us through the DIPG and start us with what Tate had, please.
Sure, yeah. It's called DIPG. It's diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. It's a brainstem tumor. The average life expectancy is 6 to 9 months. And they really tell you to go home and make memories. And you do radiation just to kind of extend life. And it's just not, that's where you always talk about the 4% of all federal funding going towards pediatric cancer is not enough. Obviously, we're coming to the end of this Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and it does get us a little bit, it kind of tweaks you when you hear all the political stuff and mass, anti-mass vaccinations. It's like, we got bigger battles right now.
Yeah, we got far bigger fish to fry, yeah.
And DIPG, with Tate's battle, he ended up going 27 and a half months, so way outlived all the
That's a win.
expectant.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
And Darcy, I'll let you then. Thank you, Brad, very much for taking us into that, because I know it's tough to, go through piece by piece, but we got to get to where we're going. Yeah. And now, Darcy, you take us to that point. But one thing that jumped out that Brad had mentioned, and you and I talked on the phone as well, Darcy, is, that they say, oh, it's only 2%. Well, there's 4 kids in Iowa since Tate. Yeah. So I think that kind of blows, like you mentioned, Brad, this whole political garbage. Let's get real here.
So you think about the funding for all government, like federal funding, 4% that's the budget all pediatric cancer gets. So that has to get divvied out. Mm-hmm. So if you break it down to DIPG, I think it's 0.0005% of all funding goes to that. And a lot of people think that DIPG could be the key to finding, if we can figure out how to get to that, because the big thing with DIPG, because of where it's at, the blood-brain barrier does its job way better than it should. It doesn't let anything in. Mm-hmm. And so that's what people are trying to figure out. And we can't crack that code. And if we can crack it, who knows what we can do with so many other things. And so, that's just a huge battle. Obviously, any cancer is horrific. We just want to get to the point where we are up there with some of the other cancers that have survival rates above 1%. So, that's kind of where we're going. We had promised Tate that we would do everything we can to make sure no other families have to go through this. So that's just our battle and what we're going to take on now and do what we can. And that's where you say, do we, fundraising or things like that with the Schraders or anywhere else here? Absolutely not, because our cause is their cause.
Sure.
And anything we can do, but obviously our big focus, DIPG for sure.
Absolutely.
And there was 3 kids in Eastern Iowa in the last year.
Yeah, and there's this, of course, AYA, but what I want to tell, that we've talked about, and we're going to talk after the show some more as well. Get ready, viewers, because again, Craig and Stacy and I have talked, and now Darcy, Brad, and I, we're ganging up, Cancer, so look out. We're coming after you. And if there's anything you can do to continue to help us, please do, again, as always, with the Facebook page for Fight with Flash Foundation or fightwithflash.org. And again, we're putting some things together. Schaefer's are with websites, Twitter, that type of thing. But for sure, go to Facebook and Tater Tough, but also the TT as you see. Also hashtag Tater Tough, as you'll see me tweeting out, but also hashtag Nobody Better. And of course, all the Williamsburg, Iowa hashtags with the teams. Again, I'm struck with this, and viewers, I know you are as well. I say the same thing to Craig and Stacy at the end of each segment each week, and now you too. Smiles, unreal. You two are a beacon of strength, and God bless you both for what you went through. And I know it's still fresh only after 6 months, so I can't even begin to say thank you enough for joining us here at Dave O'Hara Sports and Hawkeyed, but also just the conversation we had last week and are going to continue to have. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave,
you
for letting us share Tate's story. Appreciate
and
it.
giving us a platform.
Truly my pleasure. So, and again, you're welcome and thank you. So for the Schaefers and Tater Tough, old TT right there for us. He's always here. So that's the cool thing. And again, with Craig and Stacy Schrader, thanks to them for coordinating this as well. So for the aforementioned Craig and Stacy Schrader and Brad and Darcy Schaefer, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeyed, the website version. That's all for me. Thanks to all of you.